Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield with Manny Things, and welcome to another episode of Manny Talks Shooting, the show where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you enjoy this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Things. Without further ado, let's get to this episode. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Manny Talks Shooting, the shooting show where I talk about whatever I want with whoever I want. But first of all, let's get this started with the show is brought to you by Go Fast, Don't Suck. If you want to suck a little bit less and not be so slow, go to gofastdon'tsuck.net. Go buy some dry fire merch. Go buy some shirts. Tell Bill I sent you. You'll thank me later. But without further ado, let's introduce the guest of this show, Mr. Khoi Nguyen. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Excellent. It is good. It's finally time in the making. We've been Instagram friends for I don't know how long, but it seems like I talk to you, every other week or so? We randomly talk about something. Or
I think it's corgis.
Yeah, I mean, it's just dog pictures. I mean, I think every other corgi owner and dog owner understands. But, I mean, if you're not a dog person, who are you, people? Cat people?
Yeah.
It's beside the point. But anyway, all right, Khoi. I know who you are a little bit, but the listeners probably need to know, who is Khoi?
So my name's Khoi Nguyen. I like to consider myself just another guy that likes to shoot a lot of USPSA. I wouldn't say that I'm casual, but I wouldn't say that I try hard all the time. So if there's like an in between, casually trying hard, that's where I'm at. So,
you've heard it here first, people. The casual try hard. We're gonna name that. It's gonna be on a T-shirt now. Casual try hard. But Khoi, how'd you get into shooting?
So in a nutshell, I used to do a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I got really hurt doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Tore most of the ligaments in my knee. Couldn't walk for a while, and then when I decided to take a break from that and try something new that I hadn't really done. I'd always been kind of like into guns in the way that every red-blooded American is into guns, but never really tried to do anything with shooting and competition. Mm-hmm. And so just Googled a bunch of stuff and showed up in a match, and it was terrible. And then I was super into it.
So what got you into BJJ?
I mean, same answer as with shooting, right? So every red-blooded American likes to fight, so that's how.
Well, what made you kind of pick BJJ over like Muay Thai or karate or any other or wrestling in that matter?
It's kind of embarrassing to say. I guess as it goes with these kind of things, you Google and you're like, well, what's the coolest, most not crappy martial art? And not to go into Manny Talks MMA, but the gist of it is there's a handful of martial arts that are considered practical. Mm-hmm. And BJJ happened to be one of those. So I Googled for a place and I found a place local to me and got way into it. Mostly because it turned out to be super hard. And I guess that's kind of one of the really interesting things about any sports to me. If it's easy to do right off the rip, then I mean, who cares?
Mm-hmm. Right. So when you got hurt, what was your belt color?
Purple.
Okay, so you made it to purple. So that's the third belt, the third full belt, right? If I'm not mistaken. Right. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people don't care, but I kind of care. Is that like a Gracie school or like a different subsect of a school?
Oh, it's funny. So you've done a little homework because, yeah, that's definitely a kind of I don't even know if it's like a source for contention or whatever, but so not a Gracie school. Mm-hmm. I can't even remember the name of the non-Gracie lineage now. But the gist of it is the gym I was training at was not of a Gracie lineage.
Mm-hmm. And for any of you who care to learn about a little bit about BJJ, like stuff and lineage, you can go listen to the Modern Samurai Project podcast. I mean, Scott goes over a little bit of that. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, so you find out a little bit of things. So you're saying that BJJ is not just for the tack Timmies who want to be extra tough on the range.
I don't know. It's one of those things, kind of like USPSA. I'd say it really is for everyone. There's no, um, there's like this, I guess, common theme between the two, in the same way that practice score. Well, so I'm gonna completely ignore the whole edit gate and all this kind of stuff. But
Right.
so ignoring all of that, the pad doesn't lie, the timer doesn't lie, and the maps don't lie. So it's always super interesting and a bit of a rude awakening for a lot of people that have some really built up idea about how good they are, either at shooting or at fighting other people.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. As you can say, the mat, the timer, and the tablet don't lie. But that's for sure. But let's get back into where we were really going for. Although I really enjoyed to find out more that you've actually did BJJ, that puts you on another level, puts you almost higher than Corgi Dad status. I mean, that's pretty high. I mean, that's pretty high. But so Khoi, what when you first got into competition, what gun were you shooting and what like division? Were you like in production or something?
Yeah, so I shot production and like every other good casual tryhard that started. So I started at the beginning of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, what was in fashion or meta was CZ custom Shadow ones. And so I said, well, all the good people are using this, so I will get this, and I will be a good person. That did not happen quite so smoothly.
So do you still have that gun? Have you sold that gun?
I don't. So I've sold that gun, and now I'm shooting open because, as it turns out, money is somewhat a substitute for skill and excitement. So I shoot open now. No more production.
Right. You shoot an Atlas Chaos, if I'm correct.
That's right.
So do you have 3 of those, or do we have 2 of those and a lot of dots, or what?
I've got 2 of those and a lot of dots. Yes.
I mean, that's the only answer when you're shooting open. I mean, you got to have the gun, the backup gun, the gun that's always getting fixed, and the dots that are always in rotation from service, right?
Yeah. It sounds like you're ready for open.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the checkbook, but I know how it works, right? I mean, even with carry optics, that's what I want. I want 2 guns that are identical and a spare dot at least.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little surprising, I guess, stuff you learn from just shooting it. Well, name the dot because I don't want to make anyone think I hate it. I really love my dot. I've also replaced the dot that I love 5 times.
Now, has you shooting the Max XL, right?
Yeah,
the
XL.
SIG XL. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming SIG is taking care of you all the times, right?
Oh yeah, they're super fast. They'll replace it. Most of mine have been replaced like door to door in 2 weeks. So if anyone has doubts about that, that should not be a doubt. But 2 weeks will not fix you at the match, so you're gonna need 2 guns.
Right. Exactly. Now, has it all these dots failed at the same point, or like same functions have failed?
Mm-mm. All sorts of different ways. So I had the lens randomly crack. I've never hit it, never dropped it. I had the power switch completely fell out of the dot. I've had the dot not be able to turn down. I've had the dot just not turn on. I've had a windage adjustment completely loose. I mean, it's really, I'm sure the 6th replacement will be something new.
Right. Yeah. It'll be like the battery door doesn't stay shut or something like that. I mean,
right.
So, okay. So that's not too bad. You're shooting a V1 Chaos. Are you planning to upgrade when the V2s come out?
So I am, but I don't know enough about it yet. What I'd really like to do is to creep on one of the guys in the Atlas squad and then let me shoot their prototype gun for a while.
You do live close to one now. You moved, so you're kind of close.
It's true, but I'm trying not to give him advance notice.
Oh yeah, just show up to a match, be like, "Oh, yoink, mine." Did you get to see it at Nationals? Because I know it was there at Nationals.
I did, and I was. So I'm thinking. I don't know if you're thinking of the same person, but so I just moved down to Houston, and Trevor lives down here, pretty close to me, and he was shooting one at Nationals. I didn't really stare at it because I tried to be like very like in the zone, but I'd love to shoot one before I try to throw down a lot of bucks for it.
I mean, well, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of cheddar. So if anyone's looking for V1 Chaoses, Khoi's got 2. For the right price. But anyway, now I know we've been talking a little about guns Red dots. I know we have a bunch of gear queers who listen to this show, even though they won't admit it. We're all kind of gear queers. You want to run through like your belt and like what else you run like as additional gear?
I can, but it's going to put a lot of people to sleep. I've got the most unexciting belt set up at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm that guy that people make fun of in the memes that shoots every division and tries all the things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if most people are like people are definitely gear queers, but I think they're smart enough not to hit the checkout button most of the time.
Right.
I'm not. So right now I've got, I can't even remember what double belt it is, but just a double belt. I don't really know that there is a best double belt. Because some people like them super stiff, some people like them not so stiff, whatever. Regular double belt, ghost pouches, and I can't even remember the name of it. The ghost holster that has the muzzle support on it. I'm using that thing.
It's like the one or it's something else.
That sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah. Although for a while you was an S-Tech Kiwi pouches, and that was kind of hilarious.
Yeah. So I read this in the questions. So shout out to X-Sac if we can do that. So they do sponsor me, and I did undertake a challenge to see if Timmy pouches worked for gaming, and they definitely do if you put in the time. There are things that I definitely don't like them for gaming, and there are things that I don't know could be improved, I would say, for gaming, but it's not if somebody says, well, I can't use my, I don't know, Safariland HSGI, whatever, like Timmy pouch for USPSA, that is a complete lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they definitely can. I mean, people were using Blade Tech double mag pouch carriers forever and still slaying. Like, I mean, look at like guys like Nils Jonasson when they show up to IDPA with like the vest and the gun.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like second at limited nationals with a piece of Canic.
With a piece of Canic, that's funny.
Yeah, Bill, if you're listening, I know you are. Shirt, let's go. Piece of Canic. I'm rolling today. So, I mean, yeah, people can. I thought that was cool. I mean, I wouldn't do it, but it worked, right?
Yeah, there was definitely some stuff that was not super desirable. Stuff that's cool about competition shooting, like no one really thinks about. We all reload from like rigid metal or plastic boxes. That's actually super nice and works really well. Mm-hmm. When you try to reload from things that are flexible and collapse under like hand pressure, that is very not nice.
Yeah. And that'd definitely be reload practice for a while. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, Khoi, you I don't remember you were in PCC for a while too, weren't you?
Yeah. So tried every division basically, bounced around, shot production, shot carry optics, and shot PCC. And a while was probably about a year. I was super terrible, I'd say, for a couple of months, and then had this like aha light bulb moment and decided, hey, I should just be a masterclass PCC shooter. and was doing really well for a while, had some decent major match finishes, and then decided that I needed to not make GM because then I would have a lot of catching up to do with handguns. Mm-hmm. So I've switched back. And going back to, I guess, what's interesting about like BJJ or shooting is it has to be tough. So shooting PCC felt a little bit like cheating, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it kind of is. Like, I mean, you do see some shooters who have classifications in PCC, and then when they put a pistol on their belt, they're like, how does this work? But yet they're like an M level pistol shooter at that point. You're like, what? Like, that's the one thing is the downside of the classification system. That needs to be fixed.
I would say so.
I mean, yeah. Unless you're a revolver shooter, you must be. Then, if you're a GM in a revolver, you must be a master in everything else. I mean, it's just a proven fact. They have the hardest gun.
Yeah.
But Khoi, what kind of drive, besides it being hard and want to be better, what kind of keeps you going week in and week out to go practice or go shoot a match?
Do we have a PG rating on this? I can't remember.
I don't care. I mean,
okay. Honestly, so this is somewhat tying into the social aspect of it. I like to talk a lot of shit, and so finding a couple of people that are about my level or a lot better than me is fine. Basically just trying to I guess compete and find some like, I don't know, local competitiveness is super interesting to me. I hate to do stuff that's easy because it's not interesting at all. I don't know we even qualify that, but it's kind of like that whole self-discovery thing. The thing that keeps me coming back to shooting is I guess different than BJJ is you can't just learn moves and strategies and progressions and be good because people tell you those things and you get kind of coaching all the time. There's not really that with shooting, so it's a bit more if you let it be, I guess. There's a little bit more intellectual processing that needs to happen there. So that's kind of what keeps me coming back.
Gotcha. That's good. And I mean, yeah, it's very nice to have the group of guys who are about your level, and you're always kind of like this loop of chasing, like, oh, they're getting me this time, but I got to get them back. It's one of those things of it kind of keeps everyone motivated to keep going out week in and week out. Like before you moved, you were in the DFW, you were in the, the North Texas stomping grounds of, there's a bunch of people up at your level, like not to, Ken T, you had Blanton, you had Dazi Zhang. Like nobody knew who Dazi Zhang was before nationals, unless you knew about North Texas. I mean, and then you've like a bunch of really good shooters. I'm sorry if I forget somebody's name, and then, everyone's competing and it's great. And it pushes everyone to train, and that's always a good thing. But there was another question I forgot to ask. Have you taken formal training, like classes?
Yeah. So going back to what I said earlier about the like trying to get better, but it's not as straight or forthcoming as BJJ. I spent like a year thinking, well, this is going to be just like BJJ, and I'm going to somehow be able to like self-realize a lot of gains. That did not happen. Turns out I'm actually really smooth brain. and so I finally decided after a year of shooting and not really getting anywhere to take some classes, and I took them basically a year's session back to back from each other with Steger. Did his like fundamentals, which is not really fundamentals, I guess. Or I mean, I guess it's not just fundamentals. It's kind of just like how to train and stuff like that, or what's possible. And then I took, I guess he calls it like skills and drills. And then I don't know what the other name of the other class is, but basically it completely opened my eyes to like, oh yeah, here's how you kind of like proceduralize training for practical shooting.
Gotcha. So you took some Steger classes, and it definitely helped a lot. I'm assuming it's like, because God, I couldn't know. I know I couldn't come up with everything he would see in like a run or whatnot. I know I couldn't self-diagnose though. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If there was one singular thing, that was the biggest thing. And it seems like everyone's like, oh yeah, of course you self-diagnose, and it seems really straightforward to do. But if that were the case, we'd have like the reverse population in the USPSA, right? We'd have mostly GMs and less like B and C class shooters, but that's not exactly how that works. So I mean,
no,
people have definitely not figured it out, and I think synthesizing a lot of your own solutions is a little bit tougher than most people kind of acknowledge.
Right. Even though some people say, "Oh, it's so easy," or the power of the internet, right? You can learn so much on the internet. I don't need to take a class. I'm like, the $500 to $700 you're going to spend on a class is going to be, a lot of time saved.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what do you have a goals of making GM and open, or you kind of just want to sandbag in a master for a while?
So I'm actually still in A. I know, sad. So I'm like 94% or something in PC, but I'm 82 and change percent in open, and definitely trying to make master and definitely trying to make GM. There's actually a bet that I have going on with Ken and T. I think it's up to $100 per person now, and I don't know if this is open to everyone, but basically, depending on who you are, and where you're at, it's $100 to class up before the rest of us. So I've got 2% to make before I can make $200. And I think Ken's got the same for GM.
Shame on you, but it's okay. You'll do it. You make the $200. I mean, I don't want to bet my friends around here though. They'd be all assholes and they'd all shoot class fire matches and then not pay. I don't know. It sucks. At least in Texas, you can shoot year round. Up here in Michigan, we're SOL. Like shooting stops in October. Fuckers.
Yeah, it was weird. So started in 2017. First year was a complete crapshoot because I was just shooting whatever, doing whatever. And this is the first year I've tried to do like an off season, but it finally occurred to me some people do this because they can't go outside. It was 85 degrees this last weekend, and I shot a match just for laughs. But it was 85 degrees. It was hot outside, guys.
85 is hot outside. I mean, that sounds wonderful.
I mean, there's a range of hot outside. Like 85 to 105 is hot outside.
Well, fair enough. I mean, I guess that's true. So what is your training schedule like? How much do you drive fire? Well, like what's your ratio? And then like how many times a month or week do you go out and actually live fire?
So this has been a changing thing. I'm how do I say this? I'm starting to dry fire more, like less. I'm spending less time in general on live firing or dry firing, but like the amount of dry fire versus live fire is definitely more leaning towards dry. Some of it has to do with hard to find ammo. Some of it has to do with the situation of like just moved here to town and there's not really like a great training situation because of where I live in the city compared to the city and compared to whatever. But I am honestly now doing a lot more dry fire than I am doing live fire, and so what that looks like is most recently is I'm trying to drive to the range. I don't know, 2, 3, 4 times a week and do my dry firing and live firing at the range. And irritate my wife less. I've started this new thing where I don't want to use scale targets. And so the alternative for dry fire at home is putting full-size targets out all around the house. And my wife really, really loves that.
Right. Well, you know, as soon as you drop a magazine on the ground, the dog goes barking and be like, mine.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I have a special place called the basement for this.
So that's an advantage of Michigan then, because that's not a thing in Texas. We don't have basements.
It is not a thing. Someone was telling me there was I think it was Brian Levy. He was telling me about Texas basements. They're like in the attic, like up on second floors. They're like random doors, and like you could just walk out them. But it's pretty cool. So I probably said what is wrong or described it wrong. I know Brian will get back to me because he does listen to these. So tell me what a Texas basement is if I'm wrong. But anyway, yeah. So yes, dry firing. So do you, when you're at the range dry firing and then going into a live rep, do you have to give yourself the mental restraint to not shoot the ammo?
So I'll go back to, I'm super smooth range. So my new thing is I don't bring a lot of ammo to the range to do it. So it's gonna be bad feelings for a day or two if I don't work up kind of the what do you call it, the concentration or the focus to execute it right.
Yeah, and it's like I'm the same way. Like I allot this, like, and I even made a spreadsheet for 2022. Like the ammo I'm allotted, like the matches I'm planning, the majors, the locals, the practice. I'm like, this is what's allocated. This is what we are in. Not a deficit. We have ammo here. So right. We're in a surplus. We're in a surplus. So we can't fuck this up. We can't go and spend all the ammo on the first session. And then I'm short 1,000 rounds already on the butt, So I agree. I'm the same way. I'm like, I gotta This is all I take. It's loaded mags plus or minus like a few rounds. It's like,
yeah, this is gonna sound really weird too. I kind of hate the dead time between reps or between doing things. It actually drives me crazy. If it were possible for me to snap my fingers, show up at the range, have all my mags loaded, shoot all my drills, and be in and out in 15 to 30 minutes, I would absolutely go for that. There's nothing more that kind of annoys me than spending like 3 or 4 hours at the range. It sounds really weird, but and maybe that doesn't make sense, but the actual shooting part of that is like, I don't know, 30 minutes of it tops. The other 2 hours of it is dragging all of your target stands out of your car, dragging all the targets out, setting it up, putting a camera up, figuring out if the sun's in your eye, or I don't know, just random stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, or picking up brass and like,
exactly.
I mean, I don't know if you're fancy and use like the shell shock brass, not brass. I mean, like, there's some people who do that. I mean, but picking up all your brass, because funds are tight now. I mean, you're like, oh, how many rounds a year were you shooting pre-COVID?
I was actually on a ramp up. So like 2017 into 20, I was going like 10K, 15K, 20K. And I think I shot 20 last year, but 25K primers is all I have left. So, and I don't really want to try to buy a bunch. So I think I'm on like the opposite path now. I think we're going back down to like 15 and 10. we're trending down now.
Right. Well, especially it sucks. Like, I mean, it's hard enough to find primers. Like, finding them at a decent cost is even worse.
Right.
Especially when you're only like, if you can find them online, they're like, okay, they're $100 a box, but you can only get one box. And you're like, well, fuck, not buying just one box on Brownell or on Midway. I'm like, my minimum is 2. Like, I got to buy 2 at least to make it worth it.
Right.
Hazmat's a bitch.
Yeah, and it drives me crazy too, because I'm what do you call it? I'm also like a discount fiend. So pre 2020, trying to buy ammo, like, it was really tough for me because I'd have to wait for the stars to align for like Midway, Graphs, I don't know, whatever reloading store you use to have like no hazmat plus discounts, and then be like, okay, I guess I'll buy $5,000 worth of reloading components.
Absolutely.
But now it's like trying to buy a box at a time. You feel like you're at the what do you call it? You feel like you're in the soup line for farmers.
Yes, you are. It's not good. I mean, we'll figure it out way. I mean, like, we'll all figure a way. We'll have to some way. I mean, I've heard of some people even reloading primers. Like, have you heard of that?
No, is that a thing?
I guess if people haven't blown themselves up yet doing it, but I don't recommend it. I do not condone reloading primers. Anyone who's listening, please don't. You really hurt yourself, give yourself some form of poisoning. So don't do it. I read it on the internet and got told by a coworker about it. So, but don't do it. Yeah, that's for sure. Now I got that out of the way. Anyway, so yes, you're on the downcline now. Yeah. So, like, what kind of drills are you running at the range or in dry fire before you start shooting? Like distance change up, stuff like that?
So for me, it's trying to work on the things that are kind of like keeping me out of the last, I don't know, let's call it 12% from GM now. So primarily that's working on transitions and stuff. I subbed PSTG for a while, and that was actually super useful. The bulk of the advice I had been getting was basically, hey, your problem areas are this. If you can make these make sense, then you're going to be pretty good. And so, as it turns out, with most people, it's transitions. Trying to basically find all of the weak points in the locals that I shoot, and then set a practice around that. But yeah, it's stuff like you were talking about, distance change up. It could just be like target to target stuff. Leans has a little bit of special attention after nationals. I didn't train a lot after nationals because I'm trying to take some time away from it. But coming back to it, leans is one of those places that needs a little bit of TLC. I think like I mean, common knowledge, I suppose, is you don't want to do it, but if you have to do it, you should be decent at it. Shot a lot of really interesting, penalty partial penalty partial targets on leans in enough major matches that it's something to work on.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, sometimes you just find things at matches that you've never seen before, or now they're becoming normal, like half IPSC swingers. Thank you, Shannon Smith.
Yeah, those are kind of rough. They're I've debated if I should get my own sawyer for stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so when you go to the range, is it just you've got a membership at an outdoor gun club, I'm assuming, and you have a bay, probably we got a 25-yard pistol bay, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's basically the arrangement. They've got a handful of bays, and you got to bring all your stuff with you. Mm-hmm. There, it's they're very particular about you not calling it a range. It's a club. It's so they don't have anything for you to use there.
Right. Yeah, I joining a gun club. I just did this around Christmas time. This will come out like next Monday. So from when we're recording. But anyway, people, I had to write a check and mail a check to join a gun club in the year of our Lord 2021. God damn it! Like, come on. I get you're boomers, but for fuck's sake, like on practice score, they make you prepay for a local with your credit card, but my gun club membership, I have to pay via snail mail check to a PO box. What the F, guys?
I totally get it. So I've actually, this is the place where I got a membership and I call my home club for practicing. Mm-hmm. Their process for registering for matches is they won't even let you register on practice score. You got to register on their website and they'll book you into practice score, and there's no like walk-ups. So in terms of boomers as well, if you want to shoot on things that are not like big target brackets out at the range, mm-hmm. You got to get permission slips and a bunch, what do they call these things, variances. You got to get like range variances to put your targets where you want to put them. You got to get target variances if you want to shoot and move around. It's really wild stuff. It's about as boomer as it gets. And hopefully this doesn't get me banned from the range banned from the club, because as it turns out, apparently a lot of stuff will get you banned from the club.
That's no fun. But I mean, the one club I'm joining, we're actually holding Area 5 there this year and next year. Well, 2022 and 2023 we'll have Area 5. So we're gonna have it's 17 bays. So it's like, have you ever been to Frostproof?
No, I haven't. They just switched over to
CMP.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'm assuming you've seen pictures or diagrams of Frostproof where it's just mm-hmm. a giant alleyway of bays. So this is kind of how the main part of the range is. It's, the action pistol bays. So there's 10 bays here. And then they have the thing called the mid bays where you can practice on by yourself. And those are 7 other bays, 25-yard bays. So we get to practice over there. You have to bring all your own crap and whatnot. But some people are stupid and they don't know that bullets like arc. So how shooting off the mid bays could actually land into, people are dumb. So I understand like having rules for the range or the club, because we can't call it a range, right? Or a club. Yeah. We can't call it a range, but come on guys, electronic payments for F's sake. Come on. Electronic payments.
I'm ashamed to say I had to register for the NRA to join this club too, which,
well, that was funny you say that, because that was a requirement of this club, was you had to be an NRA member, but they took that away like a couple months ago. I'm like, sweet, I don't have to give nobody my money. I mean, the club membership went up. I mean, it was like $120. Now it's like 180, because nobody wanted to clean the clubhouse. So they're like, well, we got to hire a service. So the price of the membership's going up. I'm like, whatever, I don't care. I mean, now, how far is the club for you? Like half hour?
It's a half hour. So it's actually reasonable. It's actually better than any place that I had in Dallas. And so I think that in terms of training, it's so stupid, but this is a thing that popped up whenever I trained BJ too. It's really tough to, I guess, have a serious try hard commitment to something when logistically you spend, I don't know, an hour and a half back and forth trying to get somewhere or do something. Now, I'm sure someone's going to listen to this and say, well, suck it up because I drive, 5 hours in the snow one way to go shoot this match or whatever. But it's
to those people, find another match.
Yeah, I'm definitely not that guy. In my ideal world, I'd like walk out my back porch and be able to practice.
Mm-hmm. That's my dream property, is be able to walk out the back door, or not even just open the door, pull the chrono up, and just shoot through the chrono out the back door, and be like, all right, we're making power factor still. We can go back inside now.
Right.
I mean, there are some people who are that lucky, though. I mean, but those people don't have adorable corgis.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, they'd freak out and be like, what? What's going on? But yeah, I mean, yeah, the half hour is not bad. Mine's about 50 minutes. So I have to make like the planned effort of scheduling the day and be like, all right, after work, we're going. But yeah, so we'll get off that top. Khoi, how many major matches have you shot in 2021?
Oh man. More than 5, less than 10 is what I can remember.
Well, that's a fair number, because I was actually curious. I'm thinking about posting a poll on Instagram and see what like people's average level of majors are for planned for a year. I mean, at some point it seems like the it's not worth its squeeze to go to 10, 12, 14 majors a year like Jared Fox, who's crazy and spends all his money on January 1st. I mean, which I really do hate, January 1st openings for all the majors, because there goes all your money at the beginning of the year.
Right.
Take your credit card loan out.
That's if you can even figure out that they open up on the first. That I think that's one of the things that kind of drives me crazy about trying to. So not that I have a huge opinion about this, other than it's inconvenient for me. When you're trying to like say, well, I'd love to lean on the try hard of casually trying hard. I like to pre-plan a lot of this stuff, figure out the logistics of this. I want to shoot 10 majors a year. And then you're like, cool, I decided I'm going to shoot these 10 majors a year. That makes sense on the calendar. And then some allow you to register in January, some in February, some in March, some in April, and on and on and on. And it becomes like a whole thing to just like plan to go to all these major matches. It's a it's a little annoying, honestly, for something that, as a developing sport, or a sporting organization of the size of USPSA, or the financial investment of USPA, like, should probably be a little bit easier to spend your money to go compete.
Right. I'd at least say we do have practice score, because without practice score, God, it'd be a clusterfuck. Everyone would have their own website you have to go to, sign up, pay. There's some matches that still want you to send checks and money orders. I saw that the other day when I was talking to somebody. They wrote a check for a match. Like,
have you shot Area 4 before? That's the area that I'm in. That's Area 4 is like that. You have to send a check.
Yeah, Chad Stanton makes you send a check. Chad Stanton, if you're listening, please stop that, sir. I mean, we live in the day and era of 2021, our Lord and Savior. But I totally understand, though. Like, that's the easiest way to get people's money sometimes. But now I told this to other people in Area 4. I think Texas should be its own area. It's that big. I mean, like, it takes more than a day to get across Texas, guys. Like, it's about time it became its own area. Area T. Fuck no number. Area T.
That's funny.
I mean, it could work. I mean, there's probably enough clubs. Are you going to Dragons Cup in May?
So I'm gonna share with you a big stupid moment. So I'm not, is the short answer. The longer answer is I looked at the registration. I looked at it and said, no, this didn't seem that interesting. And then I saw I'm in a handful of chats with like different USPSA shooting groups, and they're like, we all got in on the same squad, and only people that are stupid or lame didn't get into our squad. And I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't even register for the match.
Yeah, because that's guys. So you're not going to Dragons Cup. Are you on the wait list?
So I'm not, because I still haven't tried. And it grates the most because I looked at it when it was open and there was no wait list. Like I looked at it the night that registration opened, or the morning that registration opened, and I was like, no one's going to this. And then like I go to sleep or something, and there's exactly. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's in the middle of fucking nowhere in Odessa, Texas. So I mean, just oil fields, right? It's okay though. But what was your favorite match? I want to talk about nationals separately, but besides nationals, what was your favorite major match of the year?
Oh, geez, I haven't really thought about it. Like it was fun. Like it was fun to shoot, or it was like a really interesting match, or
anything. I mean, we all have things that are favorite for different reasons. So I mean, your reason can be different than mine. That something is my favorite. So. Just like my dog. Like my favorite dog is my first dog. So I'm like, I mean, I'll play favorites.
All right, then I'll go with my favorite major match. Interestingly enough, was just a small state section match. Wasn't even really planning to go, but registered at the last minute, and it was New Mexico section. Not because I just like randomly like New Mexico or whatever. But I figured, I can't remember even what my thought process was behind this, other than, hey, there are slots open for this match, and plane tickets are ridiculously cheap because everyone's scared to death of of COVID or whatever, and so fares are ridiculously cheap, and so I can get back and forth in like a couple of days and just shoot this match. And I don't know anything about the area, the match, the people, but people that I'd shot with before, Blake Laws, and a couple of other locals, I got squatted with, and it was just actually a pretty interesting and challenging section match, and I had a lot more fun than I thought I was going to, without the conventional amount of like preparation or what do you call it, drama involved in trying to sign up for a section match or any major match really. Mm-hmm. I mean, if every match can be that easy to get into, like, hey, I want to shoot this thing, and then like, hey, I can line up a hotel, a flight, and whatever in an hour, and then go that weekend, that would be fantastic.
Right. I mean, absolutely. Like, or, oh, nationals is 2 days away. Oh, I got free time. Can I get into nationals? Yeah, right. Yeah, that never happened. But speaking of nationals, that was your first nationals, correct?
Yeah, it was.
So as a first-time competitor at nationals, how did the event make you, like, did the event bring on any emotions or anything other than I'm at nationals?
I don't think so. And it's going to sound weird because I'd be like, well, I looked up your finish, Khoi, and it probably should have made you feel a certain way. No, so after shooting the match and thinking about it, and comparing it to what I felt about it beforehand, it didn't really strike me as interesting or peculiar from a like difficulty or novelty perspective, which I think everyone would universally say that's a really good thing. Like, you don't want any janky stuff to kind of rule your opinion about how good the Nationals was. It was a good mixture of a bunch of different things. Some things that like aren't really popular locally. So some of it really took me off guard, like half size IPSC swingers, for instance, or I would say any meaningful amount of like 25 plus yard shooting. That was I won't say that's rough, but could definitely be improved. And then just the general pressure, I would say. It's not even pressure. Like, I'm not trying to impress anyone at this point. Like, I'd say with the updated, what do you call it, USPSA ratings, your rating is pretty true to your skill level. So on my squad, I had a bunch of like GMs, M's, whatever, and it was like the pressure of watching them and being like, yep, go ahead and just empty all of that out because you're not doing that. That ain't you.
Right. But at least your skill level isn't of like B class hot shot, right? Where who's like, oh, I can do that too. I can shoot like John Vlieger or JJ Rakaza, not Ray Ray Jacuzzi. If you guys want to find that one out, go find the internet. I mean, you'll find it. But yeah, so now if there was one stage in the match that you could have been like, I want to redo, which one that would be?
Wow, geez. So it's going to be one of the short courses or one of the medium courses, and so I don't know how into USPSA people that listen to this are, but basically they're a lot shorter, less running around, a lot of like compacted shooting sequences. There was, I think on the second day I came back from lunch and started the day off on the PM schedule on one of these medium courses, and I was just jacked on adrenaline, and it's just a absolutely bizarre feeling because I don't usually get that excited. But I think I remember watching my headcam video of that thing of that particular stage, and I had over transitioned maybe on 12 out of the 13 targets on that stage. I was so jacked on adrenaline. And if I could reshoot it, that would definitely be the one. I would say not from like it was worth a ton of points or whatever perspective, but from a
execution standpoint.
Like who is this guy? It's like, Is this your first match? Are you nervous?
Right. Now, so you were shooting Super Squad schedule, right? PM, AM, PM, or AM, PM, AM?
I can't even remember, honestly. AM, PM, AM sounds right.
Okay. So, you were shooting the reverse schedule then. And you shot, what was your first stage of the match? Do you remember like what number it was?
It was in the third section.
Oh, so you started in Go Fuck Yourself Land.
Yes. The first stage I shot was, so I don't know if they were the same because you shot carry optics, right? You didn't shoot.
No, I didn't. But I was watching the whole time on the live stream because that was actually quite entertaining for a week.
Nice. So I started on the one that had like two partial swingers out of like 25 yards. And it wasn't like a lot of running, but it was basically you started off with a quick check of, hey, do you know how to push your trigger straight to the back, jacked on adrenaline? It's like turns out sometimes. I mean, it wasn't horrible. Like I wouldn't say if like objectively looking at it, I would never say like, oh yeah, that's not me. That's not. I would say, yeah, that seems like about what a 80-ish% A class person would do.
That's true. Okay. Now, if not saying any of the stages deserve to be thrown out of the match, but if there was one that you could have just said like, no, this should not have been here at this match, at this level of match, which one would you say?
It's definitely one of the short courses. If I had to pick, it's probably, and not just because I hated it, and not because I shot it in the dark, but that one that everyone did those weird like samurai reload things. It's the weekend reload.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That didn't really seem that interesting from a like, oh yeah, this is the national competition and everyone needs to shoot it to show how good they are. It's like, here's 2 boxes, go back and forth twice and shoot it once in one hand, once in the other hand.
Yeah. And I have heard on a couple podcasts that Shannon's like, yeah, I messed up on that, putting 2 short courses in one bay, but one of them was a 2 string. So it's essentially 2 stages worth of time. So
yeah, not to bag on Shannon's match director, because the matches that I've run are way smaller. But 2 stages on any bay in major matches seems like it would have to be way smaller. It didn't happen once. It was like once in every zone, I think, had paired up stages, and it'd be awesome if that never happened again.
Right. Well, when it goes out to Colorado, there'll be I think three bays, I think, maybe with doubled up, but that's 24 stops, 28 stages or something like that for 4 days of competition. Thank God I'm not going out to Colorado. It's a lot of vacation time to hook up right there too.
Right.
But
well,
yeah. Go ahead.
No, it's good. I was just gonna gripe about the double like double stage on a bay thing again.
Go ahead.
I don't get it. Like in no world does it make sense to me to do. I'd rather see less stages than have double up. I think there was more mental processing from like the match crew on like, here's the shooting order. Like, we're gonna take the first 3 people and then the half of the next squad.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, everyone was like, who's the next shooter? How am I gonna like? Oh yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, it'd make more sense. All right, we're gonna split the shooting order in half. You're all over here first, and then when you're done, you get your ass over here, and then when you're done over here, you go over there.
Right, and you want to be good like squad mates. So like at big events, usually you go with people you know, or you find someone in your squad. You say, hey, bro, can you do me a favor? I'll video you all day, and can you video for me? Do that kind of thing. It was a complete cluster for the squad we had at Nationals, and everyone was trying to be helpful to each other. But it was like, are you next? No, I'm on the next stage. No, dude, you're next on this stage. It's like, what are you talking about? It was really rough, honestly. And I'm honestly not convinced it wouldn't have been faster to say, hey, shoot the stage, make ready, go to the next stage, just shoot that stage. Like,
yeah, because every doubled up bay, at least it seemed like they weren't that complicated stages to to memorize and visualize. So it's not like, because you could have stayed. I don't know what the rule is about staying hot after one bay and then moving to the one stage and moving to the next one. I can't remember for sure on that rule.
I don't think there's any like special thing. I think it's just like under the command of an RO, is it? So I mean, you would be
right. Yeah, they walk your ass over there. They swap bodies and they're like, all right, your turn now.
Right.
But yeah. So I mean, that could have gone better for sure. I mean, there's always growing pains too. You'd think by now Nationals there would be no growing pains, but it seems like there's always some growing pains. But Nationals, who did you squad with? I'm kind of curious. You said there's a bunch of high level guys, so
yeah. So there was a ton of guys that shoot Atlases and were Atlas jerseys. So Charlie Perez, Trevor, Chase Rains.
So you're on Team Atlas squad. Okay.
Yeah. So really good squad to shoot with. Super good energy the entire match, and everyone was trying. So it was really good and interesting to see, which is I guess another benefit of like shooting major matches, just seeing other people's like focus and the different I don't know, strategies people have around matches.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's always cool to see how people deal with it. Now, was anyone, not saying anyone would, was there anyone who was just too much in the zone the whole match? That was just like not very sociable and whatnot?
Not on the Atlas squad.
Yeah.
It was funny. I don't know if you've had Chase on here yet, but if you do, ask him about. So he got DQ'd at Nationals. Actually, I don't know if you.
No, I didn't hear about this.
So he got DQ'd at Nationals. It was an incorrect DQ, but it was funny as hell. Because you'd think he'd be like super mad about it or something, but no, he was. I mean, I've only shot Chase actually this one time, but I've been at matches where he shot a handful of times, and he's always like super, I don't know, super chill or whatever. But I mean, I'm gonna double down on the probably just all around good shooter attitude when you get DQ'd at Nationals, and then you're like, no, that's not right. Go call the RM, and then it gets overturned, and he's not like super salty about it for the entire match, and he's shooting a good match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you get him on the show, definitely ask him about that because
Oh,
I don't think a lot of people can say I got DQ'd at nationals, and this would be on on Edit Gate for sure because they definitely process the DQ.
right. I didn't know that. Wow, wow. Yeah, it's good. It's good to have people with good spirits like that. That's awesome. But didn't know you were on that squad. And I was watching that on, I think, a live stream. I think I was not whatever stage it was. It was probably day 3 though, when you guys were no, it'd been day 2 probably then when you guys were in the middle. But or in the beginning. Oh my lord. Remember, brain connect to tongue, tongue connect to brain. All right, we're good. Sorry, guests. But anyway, so I do have some listener questions. I will not I will not hold any punches on who sent these. So y'all, if you sent these, you are getting on name blast because it's only fair sometimes. So Mr. Ryan Wilkes is, how do you keep your girlish figure?
So I actually have a routine every night. I stand on an exercise ball. No, I don't have I don't have a routine. Ryan is and has been an admirer of my figure since we started shooting together. Love you, Ryan.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got to get you on something, right? And he's like one of the token white guys in the DFW area, right? I mean, like,
right? It's funny when you have enough people in the shooting scene that are I don't know, all Asian that's actually a thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and it's interesting because then the next person is also from the DFW area, Mr. Matt Chua himself, and he asks you to make the face.
Done. Anything for you?
Yeah, Matt's good. I haven't asked Matt, but Matt will come on the show, I'm assuming, at some point because he nominated like half of Dallas here, and I'm like, oh, Matt, why didn't? Okay. So Matt, now I know you're invited on the show because I know you'll listen. But then our friend Brian Levy asks, why are corgis so awesome?
Well, there's the book answer, which is they're historically fairy mounts and defenders of the fantasy realm. There's the other book answer that they are royally blessed. But I think we know that it's just because they're cute.
Well, damn right, they're cute. I mean, they have no legs. I mean, if they have a tail, it's like this long. But and then
you ever play video games and you're making your character or whatever in a video game, and so for guys it'd be like, you make your guy like super jacked or whatever, but so you're making your pet and you're like, what do you do? What's the pet version, the pet equivalent of making your character super jacked? It's like you just like make all the proportions ridiculous, so it's like ridiculously cute. Like corgis are just that, like but they're real. It's not like in a video game; they're real.
Yeah, they are. They're bundles of joy. But Brian also asked, how is Houston compared to DFW?
I honestly I don't know how to answer that mostly because I've been a hermit so far. I moved here officially this month, but I bought the house in October, so I didn't practice for nationals or anything because I was like trying to move all my shit over. But I've not really been getting out. I finally shot my second local match this last weekend after starting my move like almost 3 months ago. It's tough because everyone in the shooting community kind of already knows each other. So like when I signed up for the local matches, I was like, oh, I know more than half the people on the squad because there are people that are like casual tryhards or are already trying hard. And so you already know each other because you've shot majors with each other or whatever. So that part isn't really too different in terms of like how's the community or how's like Houston. Honestly, the biggest thing that sticks out to me are the amount of terrible drivers and ghetto cars that there are. I actually didn't even know slabs was a thing until I moved here, and I can't not see them now.
Oh yeah.
So if do you know what slabs are?
No, go ahead.
So imagine like a cutlass, but it has it has like spikes, and they've got like these they've got like spikes that hang off the hubs of the wheels, and they look like they're cars out of Mad Max. Is really the and that's apparently a whole like car aesthetic or car style, and people spend a ton of money on this. Apparently, somebody was like, "Oh yeah, you know, slabs will cost you like 10 to 20 G's." I'm like, for that on
For a
that,
piece of
yes.
Oh.
And it's unique to Houston, actually. Like this is something that apparently it kind of like went into the world, but then everyone's like, no, that's actually really retarded. So you keep that, Houston. That's all yours. But you can't not drive around Houston and not see them. They're a little too prevalent.
Yeah. So how's the food scene there? I mean, that's really what's important, right? Is the food.
So actually pretty amazing. So that'll be the one singular upside to moving to Houston so far. So there's a bunch of new stuff, and then I'd say like the I don't know what like the ethnic makeup of DFW was, but the ethnic makeup of the part of DFW I lived in was basically homogenous. There's basically like no cool or interesting like communities or food, but in Houston it's like completely different. There's wild like East Asian, I don't know what you call the other Asians, but just like a wild variety of like all sorts of different food. And there's like literally like 5 minutes down the street a bunch of people selling tamales off the back of their vans on the country road here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you're gonna see it all, right? I mean, you're in Texas. That's for sure. So I'm assuming your buddy Brad Olson ask Khoi why he would move and leave me hanging with no one to ride to matches with.
Yeah, so that's funny. So for anyone that doesn't know, Brad moved here from Minnesota, or how do Minnesotans say it? How's Minnesota? I don't know.
I don't live in Minnesota.
I can't even make fun of them. So, but so he moves here, and I spotted him at a couple of major matches, and then I asked him like, okay, well, where do you live? You want to carpool, whatever? It turns out he lived no shit. He lived less than 2 minutes away from me. He had bought a house, so we were like, you know, carpooling and shooting matches together for like 2 years straight. And now I don't have a carpool buddy, and so he has to drive angrily to matches by himself.
Yep. Oh, there's the magical noise, the dog noise.
Yep.
They're like, you've been gone too long. He's staking my toy. I mean, corgis, man. Can't live with them. Can't live without them. But now we can talk about dogs. I feel we're to the point that people have either listened, enjoyed, learned a bunch. Now we're going to talk about dogs because, I mean, who doesn't love corgis anyway? So what made you, like, besides them being magical, cute creatures of you know, royal and magical nature, like, what made you decide to get your first corgi?
So it's actually my wife, and this is not like I'm just like blaming my wife. So she, I'd owned one dog before, and it was just I went to the pound and got a dog because, I mean, I'm not super picky about like what kind of dog or anything like that. So I'd had a dog before, and we had a beagle in our family, but my wife had never owned a corgi before, and they're just like one of those dogs that unless you like form the thought completely in your head, you're like, I want a boutique dog. That most people don't like seriously wrestle. Like, okay, well, how do I get one? Where do I get it? Like, am I ready to shell out money for an open dog? Basically, you know what I mean? Like, so we went through that whole process after she was saying like, well, you know, I kind of want one, but this was right when we had both graduated from school, so it was like almost 10 years ago. And she was like, well, I want a corgi because they're so cool, they're cute or whatever, but but I don't know about this. So I put in all of the legwork to go find breeders, and so there's probably a whole nother conversation about are breeders okay or whatever, but the bottom line for me is there's no such thing as you finding a like corgi puppy in good health that's like verifiable from like a what do you call it, from like a sanctuary or from a from the pound or whatever, right? Like it's not gonna happen.
Oh yeah, no, it's not gonna happen. Yeah,
these dogs are like way too sought after. So anyway, so I went and I did all this research, and as it turns out, depending on how sketchy or not sketchy you can tolerate, like you sometimes have to like talk to these people, not like interview, but they want to like know like, hey, are you buying this dog so you can like start your own puppy business or things like that. I'm like, no, I just my wife and I have always wanted one, girlfriend at the time, but we've always wanted one, and we just want it for a house pet or whatever. My long story short, my wife really wanted one, and I did like a ton of research into like how to find one, how to take care of one, none of which actually prepared me for how really cute but terribly destructive and energetic a small corgi is as a puppy.
Oh yeah, I mean, I kind of went through the same thing too. Like I did the research. Luckily, when I went and sought out our first dog, was the fact that the power of the internet was really strong. So I mean, it was a hell of a lot easier. There was YouTube. There's a bunch of crap. But yeah, you get interviewed for a dog. Make sure that like you're right for the fit. You're not. We actually, when we got Reggie, we had to sign a contract saying like we couldn't breed it. We wouldn't breed it. Yep. We didn't own the rights to that. And I mean,
that was wild to me. I don't know if that was like a new thing to you, but for me, I was like, I mean, I'm paying money for this. Like, I mean, hypothetically, I could do whatever the fuck I want with my dog. I mean, not that I have a care or interest to like breed this dog, but I mean, this is kind of weird. Like,
I've never heard of it either, but it's like, I didn't want puppies, but that was besides the point. But it was like, I didn't have time for that shit. Like, but I mean, word gets around in that small knit community. Like, how the fuck someone's randomly popped up having corgi puppies and we didn't know the fuck who they are. Like, who sold a dog to somebody?
Right. And they'll go through their whole like, I mean, they'll seriously witch hunt people because if you're like signing them with like registration, they'll look at your registration or try to figure out what registration your dogs are and who the sire and whatever it is, and it's like, oh yeah, well they definitely broke your contract because here it is, they claimed it whenever they registered it with AKC that they definitely bred that dog. They said they weren't going to breed.
Yeah, it's a big interesting thing. I mean, luckily enough, we're on good terms with our breeder, although so we're on good terms with our breeder, and she's a really nice lady. How far did you have to drive to find your dog?
So in DFW, I live pretty much smack dab in the middle. When I lived there, I had to drive 2 hours west for one of mine, 2 hours north for one of mine, and 2 hours west again for my third one. They were, I would say, like in the country. I think I don't know how it is in Michigan, but I would say it's atypical to find corgi breeders that are like located like suburban or in the city.
No, I think usually like, well, at least my breeder she lived down near a horse farm, like horse farms everywhere. Yeah. I'm like,
yep.
I mean, I understand a big money area, big money dogs, but yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere country. It was beautiful. Yeah. Fucking corgi puppies, man. I mean, we paid big money for our first one. Our second one we rescued, so we don't know if she's 100% full-blooded corgi or not, but nor do we care. We saved her and from a bad situation. So I mean, I mean, like, and you have 3. They're not all males, are they?
Yeah, they're all males.
Oh, see that? So that's smart. Oh yeah, that's right. Because there's a picture I remember of what they're all like almost pissing on each other.
Right.
Like, I forgot. They all live. But yeah. So did you actually fix any of yours, or they're all intact?
No, so they're all fixed, and they're fixed because not because I'm like trying to comply with contracts or whatever, because I honestly can't remember if I signed them now with most of these dogs. But so our first dog that we got. So this is going to be kind of interesting. This is going to be Khoi learned about how to train dogs. So all my dogs are I don't know what to even call it. It's not obedience training. It's not just obedience training, and it's not just it's not like defense dog training or anything like crazy like that. But I have them trained pretty good. But that's actually a code word for anyone that like trains dogs. I trained myself pretty good.
Right.
So the dogs will like, I have leashes because I'm waiting for the Karen to give me a hard time and call the cops on me or whatever for not walking my dogs on leashes. But I don't walk my dogs on leashes. I have them with me in case I run into the Karen that's finally going to do this. But they're all like incredibly trained. Use like e-collars, whatever. But one of the biggest contributors to them being super well trained is getting your dogs fixed. And not everyone agrees to that because they want like to be able to control their dog otherwise. But dogs are pretty wild, pretty wild creatures if allowed to be. And I think things like the the natural, like I'm gonna say aggression, but I don't mean like it in a bad way, just in the way that animals have like normal aggression can be like, I don't know, just make them harder to train. And I didn't want to deal with it, so all my dogs are fixed. They're super obedient. Like it's e-collar or not, if I gave them commands or their names from like 50 yards, like they're gonna zip straight to me or do whatever they're told right then and there. But that's been like years and years and years of training to like get them to that point, and that probably would be impossible to like stop a dog like mid chase if they're jacked on like unfixed energy, hormones, aggression, whatever it is.
That's a good reason. I mean, I've never had anyone explain it that way, but it does definitely make sense. Yeah. And they just got to know who's boss. Be like, I've got my nuts left, you don't. Haha.
Yeah, I don't even know about like the science or psychology behind that, but I've never thought about like that too. So maybe that has something to do with it too. All I knew is my first dog, I was not planning on getting him fixed, but after working with that trainer that helped me train the dog, but really helped me train myself, one of the biggest things is like, yeah, your dog is like hyper dominant against other dogs. So it's like anytime like, those little squeak toys that everyone I'm sure as a pet owner has for their dogs. He goes into like crazy prey overdrive mode. Or if you like take him out in public and he sees like a small dog and it makes a little yelp or a squeak or something like that, he's gonna like zero in on that dog and chase after it. It's like, yeah, we can't have that. That's what happens when your dog's intact or whenever he runs into like a unfixed female dog. They're gonna do like, I don't know, dog nature things that are like very normal for them to do, and the way that you can fix that is to get the dogs fixed. So I was like, you know what, I'm not going to argue with you, you're the expert.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I definitely do listen to trainers. This hopefully in 2022 we're going to get more along with the lines of getting back into regular training, because that's kind of been lax for the last year or so on the training. But that's just how life is sometimes. So, but let's see. Oh, let's get back to some shooting questions, because that's what really people came here for. But they had to listen to our Corgi talk, because this is my podcast and we talk about whatever I feel like. But Khoi, what is something that current Khoi would tell past Khoi about shooting?
I guess it would depend on how far back, but if we go all the way back to the beginning, I would say go ahead and sign up for that class, because your purple belt knowledge. So I competed in BJJ. I was like super active in it, way more than casually tried hard. I like was training 2 days, training 5 days a week, that kind of thing, like really trying to make something out of it. I took that same kind of energy, but really didn't have the ability to like self-diagnose and stuff. I would say now Khoi to previous Khoi would be, go find a coach, go find that training, go figure out how to turn experience actually into like meaningful changes, versus going out and shoot a bunch of matches and just like shooting at the range. I mean, it's a bit harsh maybe, but I really equate the first year to basically shooting like 10,000 rounds into the dirt. I mean, sure, there's something to be learned about like how to shoot matches. Like I definitely learned how to shoot matches. Like, you know, you show up, you register, you walk stages, you do stuff like that. But like anyone can learn that, I would say, like in a couple of weeks. There have been guys that I've brought to the sport, and they've been able to learn in a super short amount of time by just telling them like, go here, do this, look for these things. If you don't have someone like that, then you have to go pay for it. So now would say to previous me, hey, go pay for that.
Right, exactly. Go pay for that. Go get some knowledge. And I bet you'd be, you know, I wouldn't say a lot farther now, but that initial jump, you know, at the beginning would have been a lot more accelerated at that point. You wouldn't have, you know, you'd have already those things down instead of have to struggle through them in 2018, 2019 kind of era. Speaking of kind of backtracking a little bit, you were an MD in DFW. What was the biggest thing of being what was your biggest takeaway about being an MD as a competitor?
The biggest thing was making the matches good, fun, and like interesting, and then also handling it well from a logistical point of view. Like that's more than one thing, but making the matches fun and interesting. And by interesting, I mean like hard enough or enough to kind of wrangle from the skills perspective. I started doing MD stuff at all because our previous MDs were rolling off. They were either burning out or, you know, they had new things in their life. They had kids, they got married, whatever. Right. And the wife or girlfriend wasn't about, you know, getting up at the ass crack of dawn to go hammer in fault lines or whatever, or, you know, spending extra days on the range to go set up somebody else's match, which we could go into a whole like hour long segment on the inequality of how matches are run and set up. But the biggest thing for me was I want to make a match that I would want to go to. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the biggest thing. I don't know if everyone has this in their area, but at some point between 2017 and now, can't remember exactly when I started, it's basically a situation of I can do nothing about this, and you're going to see like 4 ports on the stage and four targets in every port, or completely mirrored stages or stuff like that, or I can do something about it. And so I decided to do something about it. Mm-hmm. I'm sure in most areas people have guys of like various experience or whatever, and I think it's a mostly experience driven thing. I'm not going to say that every good MD has to be like A class, M class, GM to be good, but they're highly coincidental, right? You know what I mean? Like, mm-hmm. Like it's very unlikely that you're going to be a top-notch match director if you don't have a really high shooting proficiency.
Mm-hmm. Or you don't go and travel. I think you can't be a high-level match director if you're only shooting locals. Like you need to go experience other people's matches and, you know, sections, states, you know, nationals. That's kind of my opinion. But what's your biggest pet peeve as an MD that you see on stages? I think I know what it is, but I want you to answer it and see if I'm right.
You're talking about like setting up the match, or pet peeve like stuff
like of a stage design
in
like,
stages.
Yeah, like
trying to figure out how to say this in the most like impactful way. It's probably just like gimmicky stuff. Mm-hmm. I hate seeing too much, basically. Mm-hmm. So like I have a rule of thumb basically, which is if you do something that's basically not the default position, which there's no such thing, but that's not like wrist below belt loaded, you get 1. You get maybe 2 if it makes it exceptionally profoundly different. But there's nothing more than I hate than you know, one hand touching your head, one hand touching your belly, you know, rubbing opposite, counterclockwise, clockwise, gun unloaded, facing uprange, mags on barrels, like match directors that do that kind of stuff, they need to quit, honestly. I mean, not like quit doing it, like they need to quit match directing.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, oh, you can't do something. But I thought your pet peeve was going to be double stack targets that make no sense on a stage other than to jack up your rounds.
So that is annoying, but I would say that's probably just more annoying. There's stuff that's like less annoying whenever you shoot open. You know what I mean? Like when you have 29-1, it's like, yeah, that's lazy. That's lazy design, or that's lazy. That's lazy design, but I don't care. I'm just going to treat it as one target basically, and roll and live the 29+1 life that open is. But low cap Khoi would probably be like, no, this is terrible. This makes me feel terrible too.
Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I luckily we don't see that a lot up here, is double stacks on targets just for round count or to drive up hit factors or whatnot. So
you're making me wonder now if I've done that in my own matches.
I mean, you never know. I mean, you probably go back and be like, damn it, I did that. But
right.
But it's not like, because I remember like, I don't understand the fact of a hoser match where it's like, you kind of get bored of pulling the trigger that fast for that many times in a match. I'm like, you got to have some diversity, some challenging skills that everyone can do, but it still challenges the levels and the divisions.
So you might get a chuckle out of this. I've been told that my matches are hosey, but I would contend that that's because that's a limitation of the range. So you got to deal with what you got, and if what you got is like a 20-yard front to back total and like a 20-yard side to side total, it's like, as much as I jack up target difficulty, it's always going to be a hoser. You know what I mean? Like there's some unavoidable stuff on some ranges.
Oh, agree. That is definitely true. But usually when I think of hoser, it's 3 to 5 yard targets, and they're all open paper. That
Gotcha.
But yes, I mean, you still want to have it be. I mean, we still have DVC, right? So we got to have speed in there somewhere. I mean, it's part of the game. But I guess the non-thought through hose fest. God, what are they now? Mine are going off. I don't know what she's barking at now. Probably that he stole her toy. Probably. But Khoi, this is a new question I like to ask. Well, no. Here's a good question I like to ask now that it's something different. What are your thoughts or hopes to do to help the Second Amendment grow?
Got to stew on it. I'm gonna think my way through this answer because I don't know if you're asking like as it relates to competitive or just in general.
Could be. I don't care. Whatever. Like, I mean, whatever the Second Amendment means to you, if that only means competitiveness.
I guess to start with that. So Second Amendment. So not to get into a whole political thing because it definitely can go there.
Right.
But it's you get all the loud shooty things you want, right? So no restrictions on that, but obviously that's not the world that we live in. But what it means to me to kind of grow that would be to get people into shooting. So I usually hate to do this, but I force myself to do it. If I see people that need help or would like help that don't typically ask for it. And so this used to happen a lot whenever I was still training jiu-jitsu, just a tiniest little bit. Somebody that I would train with would say, hey, my spouse, husband, wife, whatever, is in academy, or they're up for quals or whatever. I see that you do this. Can you help them? The answer is always yes, right? The answer is yes, I will help you put the bullets exactly where you want to put them. And so I always look for opportunities to do that. As soon as I left DFW, unfortunately, some friends of mine started a beginner match, which I was really sad to not be able to help more with. But doing that kind of stuff is what I would consider to be kind of useful in that regard. So, and then just keeping people, I guess, I try not to engage in a ton of these conversations. So when I hear a little bit too much in the nonsense area of what is TUA or for people, or if I hear enough comments around like, oh yeah, well, if only X were banned, it's like, no. You don't get off for free on this one. Like, we're gonna have a conversation about it. If you're willing to make claims like this, we're gonna have a conversation about it. And it's not going to be with every random person on the internet or whatever, but people that I I don't know, consider or respect, consider to be like respectable or do respect already. And it's like, I don't agree with that, and we're gonna have a conversation about it now.
Right, and you can't fight every internet ninja Nazi troll on the internet and the Instagrams or the Facebooks. I mean, like, there's not enough time in the day or the breaths in the air and the oxygen in the atmosphere to deal with all that crap.
Right.
But I mean, that is definitely some good. In my opinion, there's some good ways to help grow the Second Amendment by helping people and taking them out and helping them do better on quals and give them the help that they need and all that. Because without that kind of help, I mean, we don't grow it at all. It just stagnates and we can't bring in new blood. Because without new blood, the sport will die. Second Amendment will die. So there's that. But we need to we're getting to the very end of this show, but we got to pay our bills or their bills. Who sponsors you, Khoi?
So just Aztec.
Just the Kiwis.
Just the Kiwis, yes. So yeah, check them out. ESSTAC. If you're into Timmy stuff, they're slowly starting to let me inception them into stuff that would be considered cool for competitive. So angled pouch and stuff are a thing now. The owner will never admit that it's partly due to my inception, but that's fine. We went from no angled pouches to some or mini angled pouches. so we're doing good.
That's pretty good. I mean, everyone go find your STAC Kiwi pouches. I mean, I think the first place I ever saw them was Lucas on T-Rex Arms. Made those kind of popular for a while, and they're everything in OD green is better. So you all can fight me. We like our cool snazzy blouses, but OD green is kind of cool. Just don't forget that, people. But Khoi, where can the good people find you on the internet?
Really just on Instagram. I don't do a ton of influencer-y type stuff. So if you're interested in following, it's khoi.shoots on Instagram, and that's probably the easiest way. Or on Facebook.
Or if you want to watch good Corgi content, Dem Corgi Boys, if he actually posts on there, because nothing makes your day better than looking at a cute little Corgi dog. So, but you also do a podcast, although you guys have been slacking.
True.
Anyone doesn't know, Khoi is part of the A Zone podcast. But and honestly, I'm going to tell you and the listeners, it should have been called the Asian Zone podcast, except Connor is the token white guy in the group. And he was Caucasian, the guy, right? Yeah, and he was the one who wanted to kind of do the podcast. So it kind of can't be the Asian Zone. Sorry. That would have been a great name. But anyway, besides the point, Khoi, I do want to thank you for coming on. It's kind of been a blast. It's been fun. I think probably people would learn from our ramblings and conversations, which I hope everyone does. But to the listeners, I greatly appreciate you. And until next time, get out and do the things. And I'll see you on the next one.